I wake up and I'm like, all right, I have to go.
Let's do the easy way.
And I woke up on all of my alarms and went back to sleep on all of my alarms.
Wow.
And then I woke up and it was 10 a.m. and went, oh,
There you go.
so I just watched them.
Good morning. Give me my clothes. Don't forget to sign in, please. It's another quiet one. Everybody awake? Drying out? Everybody walk over? Everybody ride over?
I drove.
You drove? I definitely drove.
Yeah, today's first day, it's like, eat my instruction unless you do. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm driving over.
I think I'll drive. We either have a host still asleep in bed or watching online.
Yes.
We may have a host online today. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. There's some great things going on in our world. I hope you're noticing, paying attention. One of the great things that's happening in our world is the church is waking up, learning how to be the church, how to decree and declare and function as the ecclesia, which is what I call the Senate of the Spirit. Everybody understand the background of the word ecclesia? Understand that that's the word that was common for the Greek Senate, those that were called out, elected representatives of the people to make legislation, to declare the laws that the people would live by. So when he said, upon this rock I'll build my ecclesia, and the gates of hell will not prevail, he's talking about the church that is living from the throne room, decreeing and declaring, thy kingdom come, your will be done. Bind in earth what's bound in heaven. Loose in earth what's loosed in heaven. There's an awakening that's going on in the church in our day to do just that, and we're seeing some shaking and results. If you pay attention to the news, I try not to pay too much attention to it, but every day, really for the last month, every day, incredible revelations are coming to surface, things that have been hidden in darkness, and the church has been praying for this for a long time. I lead several prayer gatherings, and we've been praying for some time for what's hidden in darkness to come to light. And when it comes to light, that it grosses us out so badly that we get a heart of repentance, and that there's a great turning to God as a result of it. So we're thankful for that. Amen. Amen. For those of you that are watching online, you have a couple of documents in the course documents. One is the PowerPoint presentation that we're showing here that you can download if you want to. The other is a sheet called Genuine Passion handout. Genuine Passion. It should be at the very top of the list in your course documents, student course documents. The very top is called Genuine Passion. And you might want, if you can, to go ahead and print that out, because we're going to be working on that this morning. And it's going to be very important as we kind of wrap up this little section and develop our personal mission statement. And we'll be finalizing that on Thursday once we add this last little component to it. And I'm going to get you, my brother, to pass this out. And we should have enough to go around. So we want to talk about understanding your passion today. And this has to do with the thing that moves you. And I'll just put the first question on the table like this. Have you ever been to a great restaurant? You've ordered your food. While the food is getting ready, you get into conversation and you get into your passion, the thing that you can't stop talking about. And then the food is served, but you're so into your passion that your food gets cold before you eat it. Now, some of the guys here would say, I have no idea what you're talking about. Eat the food first. But what we're going for is that thing in you, that fire that burns in you. We could call it a cause. It could be a people. It could be an insight, an innovation to fix a problem. But that's what we're digging for today. So we're going to talk about the difference between personal passion, a general passion, and a genuine passion. A personal passion, a general passion, and a genuine passion. And this is the last component we want to build in to your deliberation and your cultivation of a personal mission statement. We've looked at our assessments. I trust that you've developed your assessments that you had handed out to you initially. We've looked at spiritual gifts assessment. You've got that information there. Then we've talked about these basic strengths and what we're hardwired to do. That would be, are you living through the fire hose or through the drinking straw? Remember that conversation? So now we want to just pull this piece in, and as we gather these thoughts together, we're going to put them with our 3 action words on Thursday, and we're going to do that with some bagels and some coffee and whatever else you might decide to bring, and it'll be very relaxed. But we're going to pull all of that together into one sentence. And that sentence becomes a powerful tool, a key for you to be able to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And that's why we're taking this much time about it. We want to begin to understand our mission and our personal vision. And so we have to make the distinction between these things. This is just a quick review from our last session. The 3 impacts of learning where your strengths are, improving your weakness incrementally. You can spend a lot of time doing that. We won't go back over that. Then we've asked you to write down your top 5 strengths. That would be from just the survey and the gathering together of your spiritual gifts. The various assessments that you've taken, what would you say are your 5 strengths? Now, those will come in a lot of different words. If you use the DISC terminology, it'll look one way. If you look at strengths finders, it'll sound a little different. If you use DISC, it'll sound a little different. If you're just using the spiritual gifts assessment, it'll sound a little different. I'm asking you to pool all those things together to understand as best as possible in an objective way what your strengths are. And we've made the statement, when you're operating in your natural strengths, you're naturally 6 to 8 times better at it than somebody that is not gifted in that area at all. And then we asked you last week to write down those most exciting words, the adjectives that stir up in you. You've written 5 of them down. We're going to actually use 3 of the 5 in what we put together. So we're just, as you can see, we're going out, we're gathering up all the pieces to build this statement. It's going to sound, I know for you, it'd be a little frustrating, because we're doing it incrementally. Normally, I would teach this in a 2-day seminar, and you get it all within 2 days, and you come out at the other end, and you see it building. When you stretch it out in 45, 50-minute increments, it's hard to see it coming together. Thank you for your patience in it. So we've asked you to write down the 5 spiritual gifts, look over the adjectives, sit with a partner, explain why those things stoke your fire, so to speak. And we did that the other day using these action words. We write this. This is not a full sentence. This is a part of what your sentence is going to look like. We're going to build a cause and a focus into it. I want to, and we've just added those 3 action words, or those 3 adjectives, if you will. That's the beginning of our sentence. So we want to understand our life's passion, our personal passion versus general passion, and then what is the genuine passion? What is that thing in me that moves me? I must do something about this. This is what we want to pull to the surface. To begin to understand your mission and personal vision, we must make a distinction between these 3. So first, let's look at personal passion. As a child, you often heard the question, what would you do if you could do anything and you knew you wouldn't fail? Anybody remember that? If you could do anything you want to do and you knew you couldn't fail, what would it be? As a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? How many of you can remember what you wanted to be when you grow up? Astronaut, firefighter, queen, princess, all these things. So we have those things in our childlike nature, and we shouldn't discount those too much, because Jesus says we should get back to that childlikeness. But if we add a couple of questions, it might help us to lift our head a little higher. So we ask this: would I really want to do this forever? Okay, so maybe EMT forever, maybe firefighter forever. I don't know. This is a good question to begin to ask. Would I want to do this forever? Would anybody else benefit from this except me? So usually these questions help us to realize that what would be temporarily fun and self-gratifying are usually shallow and unfulfilling if we turn them into a lifetime pursuit. Everybody get it? It's one thing I want to ride a roller coaster. Okay, that's an event. That's a memory. It's another thing to be stuck on a roller coaster your whole life, right? You don't want that. So personal passions are not wrong. We don't discount them, but we need to make sure that we put them in the right priority. And they make wonderful hobbies, personal recreation activities, something you'd go do 1 weekend a month. That's awesome. Something you do in your spare time. But we must realize there is more to our existence than dedicating our lives to the full-time pursuit or participating in self-absorbing activities that place us at the center of the universe. This is how we're going to begin to distinguish between a personal passion, a general passion, and a genuine passion. Clearly, God, who is the center of the universe, decided that it's better in his own nature. He gives himself away, and he makes us that way, that we're most fulfilled when we're giving ourselves away. So if you're just living to fulfill your bucket list, though it looks good in the movies, it's going to be very unfulfilling for you, because that's all about you experiencing something that's self-gratifying rather than giving yourself away. And this is the way the Father has wired us. Our fullest, highest joy is when we give ourselves to others. This is because we're made in the image and nature of God. So let's talk about personal passions can be self-absorbing. God's made us in his image to be fulfilled by giving ourselves away. Then general passions. General passions, on the other hand, is about helping others, and it's equated to watching the news. When a moving story comes on the news, somebody's been burned out of their house. Now there's this family that's huddled up on the corner watching their house burn down, and they're crying, and the reporter's saying, "How do you feel?" You know, the great question, how do you feel? A terrible question at that point in time. And your heart goes out to them. Some of you see a kitty cat that's stray, and every time the pet center commercial comes on, the animal care shelter commercial comes on, your heart just goes out to them, and you want to send them a check. You know, these are things that we might be moved with by what we would call a general passion. It strikes a deep chord of emotion within us. You're moved to the point of saying, listen now, here's a key to this one. You're moved to the point of saying somebody should do something about this. Have you ever thought about that? Somebody's got to do something about it. This is wrong. Somebody's got to do something about it. Somebody should do something. I can't believe they don't do something about this. Okay, we're sitting on our couch, nice and easy. We get moved in our emotions, a little irritated because somebody won't do something about it. But it's not enough to move us off the couch. This is a general passion. Then you change the channel, you watch a movie, you pop some popcorn. It stirs an emotional response in us, in our soul, but it doesn't reach to the depths of our heart. Here's the difference between a psyche response and a pneuma calling. The world is filled with wonderful opportunities to do incredible things to help hurting humanity, but every cause stirs emotions in different ways. Your generation is more wired to a cause than any generation in the past, partly because you haven't had a global cause to rise to. My dad's generation fought 3 wars, 2 world wars and the Korean War, and then they came home and built everything you see around you. It's called the greatest nation. They rose up because they had to. It wasn't because they were necessarily any better than another generation. They had to. They had to survive. My dad picked cotton at the age of 5 for 10 cents a day. He had to. His dad was a sharecropper. That means he couldn't afford to own his own land. He had to grow crops on somebody else's land. Very poor. What did he get for Christmas? Well, to hear my dad, he walked uphill both ways to school in the snow, no shoes. But he got a brown paper sack with an apple and an orange in it one year. That was his Christmas present. I asked him one time, Dad, what's the biggest Christmas you ever had? He said, one year my dad saved all year to buy me a bicycle. That was it. He was overjoyed. Well, that generation grows up with a different set of values and priorities. And so then my generation comes along and everything's pretty well already built. Now we get to enjoy the goods of that. We don't work so hard for it, though we're taught a great work ethic by parents that knew nothing but work. They didn't even know how to say, I love you and give each other a hug. It wasn't about loving or feeling the emotions. It was about, we got to get out there and make some food so we can have something to feed our kids. And so then my generation comes up with a whole different set of values. Oh, all I got to do is this and work this little angle and voila, the great American dream. Then my children's generation comes up and we're living well. They don't have to do anything. So they're looking for a cause, something worth living for, something worth dying for. And of course, you're sitting in this chair because you found one in the gospel. We have to hone in on this. So you read a story about somebody that does something heroic. Anybody seen the movie Harriet? Yes, no? Harriet Tubman? You really should go see it. Harriet Tubman is the African-American slave who began to get people through what was called the Underground Railroad, slaves from the South into the North. She was a Holy Ghost woman, and she would literally hear the voice of God tell her, stop here, go there, go around this way. And she over and over again got slaves out of slavery into freedom by simply listening to the Holy Spirit. It's an amazing story. And you look at that and say, man, I want to be like that. Or I want to be like Heidi Baker. Or I want to be like Mother Teresa. And we see people doing things and it stirs something in us. It stirs a cause in us. Does it necessarily get us up off the couch to do it? Well, many times it does. It's a general passion. And so it's something that probes us. When we tell, or we've had a friend that tells us about something that really stirs their emotion, it's a grand cause that they're working for. And we say, man, that's powerful. Yeah, you go. That's awesome. Go do it. You see the person that's practicing the piano 8 hours a day, and now they're beginning to play in concerts and whatnot. Oh, that's amazing. You're awesome. Does it move me to play the piano 8 hours a day? No, but I'm stirred by it because piano's not my thing, maybe. What is my thing? That's what we're going to probe for. So, general passion. Somebody should do something about it. You're glad your friend is doing something about it, but it doesn't move you to the point of action. It's a general passion. The cause that brings us deep emotions brings our friend into deep emotion, that brings out of us such deep emotion is a general passion. To you, it's good. Somebody should do something about it. You're glad your friend's doing something about it, but you're not sure that's what you're supposed to do. It's a general passion. So this brings us to the genuine passion. The genuine passion. Proverbs 27 says, the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, which searches the innermost part of his being. You are a spirit being. And God created you with a calling and with a purpose. And sometimes it takes us 40 or 50 years to find out what that is. Sometimes early on. I was called into the ministry at the age of 11. I didn't really know what that meant, but I knew I was called into the ministry. And it shaped my decisions. Instead of taking scholarships to play football, I went to Bible college. It shaped my decisions because I knew something about my calling. There's something in your spirit that is the call of God on your life, and your whole life has been wired for that. Hopefully, as you're doing your assessments, whether it's Strength Finders or SWOT or DISC or whatever it is, those things begin to bubble to the surface. You begin to realize, I'm wired for something. This is what I love to do. Now, if you've got a wrong view of God, this is why we started this way in the class, a right view of God. If you think God is a sadistic kind of a God, that he's going to make you do the very thing you don't want to do, then this is not very helpful, right? God's just going to send you to the last place on earth you want to be. Well, that's not the God we serve. If he's going to send you somewhere, he's going to put it in your heart to love that place more than you love any other place. So genuine passion stirs you to the point of saying, I must do something about this. We might say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. All right. You begin to feel, I cannot sit by and watch this any longer. I've got to do something about it. It's a thing that would cause feelings of regret or remorse if you don't make a significant difference in this area before you die. Think about it. It's a thing that would cause significant regret or even remorse if you don't do something about it or make a difference in this area before you die. There are two kinds of people. The first kind is filled with people whose passion is built into them, like the unanchored boat. Their life is being moved by this wind, by these invisible forces, and it just seems like everything I do moves me in that direction. There are those kinds of people, and I'm kind of that kind of person. I knew when I was 11 where I was going to go, and everything after that began to shape that inner calling. I heard the Lord call me on the inside. They've been attracted like a magnet to a certain field of study, reading materials, hobbies, role models, mysteriously aligned with an internal compass. This is just what I'm supposed to be. But then there's another group of people, a second group of people that have an experience. These people have an experience in life, and that experience thrusts them into a passion that they might not have considered before. Maybe you get sick, and because of the care of doctors and nurses, suddenly you feel that is worth giving my life to. Maybe you get saved, and under the discipleship of a mentor, a coach, or a pastor, or a teacher, all of a sudden something's awakening you. I want to do that. But there's an experience that triggers this genuine passion. People who have experienced rough times during their years now have a passion to help others through those difficult decisions and situations. So this group is best explained by 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 4. God comes alongside us when we go through hard times, and before we know it, he brings us alongside someone else who's going through a similar time so that we can be there for that person just as God was there for us. The word paraclete is repeated 3 times in that verse. The same comfort with which he comforts you, you now comfort someone else in their distress. So this is one way that a genuine passion is born. Comes through an experience. Maybe it's an experience with God. Maybe it's an experience with a significant person. Maybe it's an experience with yourself in a traumatic situation. But something is born there. No matter which group you're in, it's important to identify your passion and learn to articulate. If you're going to be the most passionate person for what you're interested in, this following exercise is going to help you to articulate it. So I want you, if you would you guys pass these out for me? I hope we'll have enough for everybody. I think we will. If you're watching online, then if you haven't downloaded it, printed it out already, it would really be helpful if you would download the page at the top of your course documents that says genuine passion exercise. I think is what it says there. Print that out. We're going to take a little time to answer some of these questions. You got something to write with this morning? Any questions about the distinctions that we've laid out for you between the personal passion, the general passion, and a genuine passion? You may honestly, after this exercise, you may come to the conclusion that you still don't know what your genuine passion is. That's okay. That's okay. We'll still be able to formulate this purpose statement, but it'll be clearer if you have an idea of, as we say in West Texas, what cranks your tractor. Any question? I'll walk you through this in just a second. Nico, if there's one available.
Okay, for genuine passion, that's the definition for the second statement.
For genuine passion. Nico, for you, we'll go back to the first slide if we need to. Because if you're asking it, probably somebody else too. Genuine passion stirs you to the point of saying, I must do something about this. We might say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I can't sit by and watch this happen anymore. It's a thing that would cause feelings of regrets or remorse if we didn't do something significant to make a difference about it before we die. I have to do something about this. That's the general idea. You say, well, I don't feel anything that strongly. That's okay. The Lord's going to help you come to it, but we're trying to help you unearth some things that we can begin to get into our target sites. So here's some ways that that we can know. How do I know if it's a genuine passion? Number one, motivated self-denial. We could say self-motivated self-denial. In other words, there's an internal engine that turns on inside of you, and nobody has to talk you into doing it. One of the greatest gifts I ever gave to my boys was my guitars. And I knew they would face the same thing that I faced as a young teenager. I wanted to play sports. And I knew my boys would want to play sports. And I also knew that you can play football till you're about 20, and then it's done and you're pretty busted up. If you've noticed these knots I have on my forehead, those are football reminders. And so I gave them my guitars because I knew they both had some musical talent. And within 6 months, they flew by me in the ability to play. What happened there? Any of you take piano lessons? 2? Anybody that has ever taken piano lessons? You took them and you quit. Yeah, that's me. I took 6 years. 6 years was enough. Now I'm wishing I'd stayed with it. And what happens when you get exposed to something? For example, with my oldest son, sorry, I'm going to talk about my kids. Robert was 10. I had a sense that he had music in him. So I bought him a stand-up conga drum. That's it, just a conga drum. You know, Babalu. And he was not interested. Put it in his room. He never touched it. Then one day, because of his attitude, he got sent to his room, and I said, until you can get a handle on that attitude, you're not coming out. Well, he was so mad, he got in there and he started beating on that drum. Blah, 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 blah. He's probably kicking it too. And then pretty soon it's ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. He didn't come out of his room. And Mom and I sat in the living room and yes. What do you want for Christmas? A set of drums. He played drums for about a year, got bored with it. I mean, just natural. Then he wanted a guitar. And then he's taking piano lessons. Now he's playing about 7, 8 instruments. And he's a worship pastor up in Seattle. And he's writing music and recording music and all those kinds of things. What happened? He got exposed to something that lit a fire in him. It was already in him. It was already in him, but he hadn't been exposed to it yet. This is what university is about, actually. University is to expose you to a lot of different things. And out of all those classes, you say, that's boring. That's ugh. But there's one thing, boom, all of a sudden, that lights on the inside of you, and you discover your genuine passion. Sometimes your parents will get you to take dance lessons or art lessons or piano lessons. And they may be trying to fulfill some childhood dream they missed out on, but most of the time, good, loving parents are just trying to expose you to something until it bites you. You know what I mean? When that thing bites you, all of a sudden it gets in you, and there's this self-motivated denial. Nobody has to. My mom used to have to crank on me so hard to get me just to practice the piano 30 minutes. But all of a sudden you can't quit. It gets in you. You want to do it. You can't stop reading. You can't stop studying. You can't stop practicing. You want to be with somebody that's doing that thing. Is there some fire within you that makes everything else seem unimportant? Then endurance. You're able to work at it or to work on it seemingly without tiring. Just people say, man, how can you do that so long? What do you mean so long? Continuous excitement or even a burden. The cause. What cause? This is a huge piece to discerning your genuine passion. And there'll be some of you in this room that have never thought of this before. But some of you have always felt called to a nation or a people group, and you really never knew why. Or to a vocation. What cause, what less fortunate group or problem that must be solved stirs you to engage others' involvement? Come help me do this. This is an important question. So let's just think about that for a second. I want you to doodle on your page. Just list 2 or 3 things that you love to do. Things that are not just self-fulfillment, but they're a cause. You can see yourself doing this to help someone else. Okay. So now let's look at the exercise questions. Anybody else need one of the handouts? Everybody got a handout? Let's look at the exercise questions, and I'm just going to give you a few minutes to work your way through these and see what surfaces on the inside of you. When watching the news, what news story evokes the greatest emotion in you and why? What topics do you love to talk about for long periods of time and why? What tasks or projects have you been part of that evoke endless energy? What problem or pain do other people experience that you personally feel passionate about and wish you could eliminate? Why do you feel so strongly about it? If every problem, sin, or pain of mankind were an individual fruit on a tree, and you could pick that piece of fruit from the tree and totally destroy it, which one piece of fruit would you pick and why? That's assessing the problem to solve. Number 6, what job would you do for free if money were not an issue? If you already had the money you need, you don't have to work for money, what job would you do for free? Is there a recognizable theme within your answers? Look for the common denominator in the previous questions. All right, just spend some time with that. This is really important. You might want to ask the Holy Spirit to talk to you, to remind you of things that you might be forgetting about. For those of you that are watching online, perhaps you have not downloaded the page. I'll read the questions to you again. Number one, when watching the news, what news story evokes the greatest emotion in you and why? What news story evokes the greatest emotion in you and why? Number two, what topics do you love to talk about for long periods of time? What topics do you love to talk about for long periods of time and why? Number three, what task or projects have you been part of that evoke endless energy in you? You love to do it. Number four, what problem or pain do other people experience that you personally feel passionate about and wish you could eliminate? What do you feel? Why do you feel so strongly about it? A problem you could eliminate. Number five, if every problem or pain, problem, sin, or pain were an individual fruit on the tree and you could pick any one of those and destroy it, what would that be? Number six, what job would you do for free if money were not an issue? What job would you do for free? And why? Then look back over those when you get through and see if there's a recognizable theme. And then number eight, we look for the common denominator in these previous questions. Is there a pain or problem to be eliminated? Is there a cause or a less fortunate group of people to help? Maybe a nation that needs help? What is the end result or cure solution that you'd like to see reached? Terry, Wendy, Bruno, David, anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. I'm going to need you to take your mask down so I can hear you.
I have a question from what is
Sin, brokenness. What would you think that is? You want to help him? Addictions? Addictions, murder. Think about what it looks like if you break the 10 Commandments. Those would be sins of mankind. What is it that you would like to get rid of? Maybe it's lust, pornography, food addictions, sickness and disease. I'll just tell you, number 6 is huge. If you give some real thought to that, it'd be a blessing for you. As you finish those, I want you to look on the back of that sheet, and you'll see the pyramid there. It's not a pyramid scheme, it's just a way to focus. At the bottom, this bottom third, I want you to just write 3 or 4 of your personal passions. Those could be hobbies, things you'd like to learn to do someday. You can go back and look at your notes on personal passions. Those things you enjoy doing, but a lot of times that's for your own personal gratification. It's not about helping somebody else. It's just because you love to do it. Personal passion. Then out beside this too, I want you to write some general passions. Some things that when you see it, you say, somebody ought to do something about that. But you don't see you being the one to do it. Then the culmination of your questions, if you see a theme arising out of the answer to the questions on the back, up at the top, I must make a difference in this area. Now, if you can put that in a sentence, your genuine passion, that is the number one up here, right down below the pyramid, you'll see my genuine passion is to. Just go ahead and make a sentence out of that. My genuine passion is to alleviate the hurting in Haiti. My genuine passion is to see a vaccine for COVID, whatever it might be. All right, we got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to ask you to share your genuine passion with one other person and then listen to theirs. But the first thing I want to say before you do that is this. In the real scheme of life, sometimes the thing that we think is our biggest passion gets hijacked by the Lord, and he gives us a fresh passion. I'll give you an example. The Apostle Paul, if you just listen to him talk, you would think that his greatest passion is to see all Israel to be saved, right? Everywhere he goes, where's the first place he preaches? In the synagogues. To see my people saved. That's why he says to the Jew first. Not because everybody has to go to the Jew first, but because he's a Jew and it's his passion to get to the Jew first. Okay? But what happens? The Jews reject his message. So he becomes the what? The apostle to the Gentiles. God uses his initial genuine passion to move him into his calling. So we're not putting God in a box. We acknowledge he can move us many different ways, but he's hardwired us. And when you look back at Paul's life, he was the disciple most prepared to minister to a multicultural, international crowd. He was raised in a Gentile city of Tarsus, in a university city, seaport city. He grew up hearing lots of languages. The other guys grew up in Galilee. They were struggling with prejudice. And Paul, not a problem for him to hang out with wealthy people. He was a citizen of Rome himself. His parents had some wealth. He knew the gospel, sat under Gamaliel. He was wired for it. When you look back at all of the things that shaped Paul's life, his childhood, his parents, his 10 unchangeables, they were the perfect hardwiring for him to be the apostle to the Gentiles and take the gospel to the nations. Same's true of you. It'll look different in you, but it's true of you. All right, find somebody, one other person. We've just got 5 minutes now. Just share your genuine passion and why. Share why you think that's so. Maybe you can share on the thread with one another. What's your genuine passion? What are you finding as a common thread in the discussions? or the questions that we've asked you. We're going to find out if you're snoozing or not. Maybe email one of your classmates here online. Okay, you guys are marked present for the class. Blessings to you. All right, blessings on you. You will get your chairs back in place before you go. Thursday's going to be an important day. Thursday, especially if you're bringing food from the server, come get it set up. And if you're not a little bit early, we will need to get started early. So don't come in this week. Too. Not even because we're going to formulate now all of this that we put together in one sentence on Thursday. And we're going to do it with food in our mouth. So that's going to be extra exciting. All right. See you Thursday. Blessings. Blessings to you. Thursday's going to be a big day. Get all your. By the way, if you haven't done your assessments, of course, that's going to be key. So you need to have done your assessments so you got that information to pull together. Bye, y'all. Ciao, ciao.